Hey there, everybody. I don't know if this is the second time you might be seeing this tonight, but we had some audio issues earlier. And thanks to my friend over at Debt Free Dad, he alerted me to it as I was working through the live stream. So hopefully this one is coming through clear and clean and much more crisp. I'm not sure what was going on with the audio, but otherwise, let's jump back into another live one. And this, of course, is always what happens when you go live. So no worries. So this is gonna be a little bit quicker. I'm gonna leave the other one up because apparently some people can hear the audio and some cannot. On mine, it's not working right, so I'll go with the benefit of the doubt on that. First things first, I will keep this one really short because it's the second one of the night. So there's a few topics I want to talk to for the upcoming week. First and foremost, as you can see from the description, we're talking about Naked. Naked as in NAKD, and not really talking about that stock in particular, but why that one caught my mind tonight and for the week ahead. One thing you want to always make sure you're doing every week before every week starts. I like to do it sometimes on Saturday, sometimes on Sunday, but whenever I get a chance to, I want to go and understand what earnings reports are coming up in the week ahead. I want to understand if there's some that are of companies that I have positions in from the stock perspective. Maybe I have exposure from an ETF, a mutual fund, an index fund. But either way, I just want to be aware of the fact that there is an earnings, what day of the week those earnings will be on, and whether it's pre-market or post-market. And the reason I want to do this is I want to be sure that I have an expectation of what is supposed to happen with those earnings. Are they going to be good? Are they really positive? Are they going to be not so good or maybe very negative or going to be neutral? I want to understand what the analysts are saying I should expect to have happen. And I just want to make sure that I'm protecting myself in case there is a situation where the earnings could be really bad and I'm not primed to have some downside protection there. Maybe you want to do nothing as well and it's an opportunity to buy more. Up to you. Now, the beauty of this is it's not hard at all to find out what those earnings are. You can literally go to Google and type in earnings this week, and there'll be a myriad of locations where you can look to see a list of what stocks are reporting for that week. Scan the list, see if there's something in there that you own, and get your eyes on and understand what it is. The reason I mention NAKD or Naked is because this is a really popular meme stock. It's seen a lot of wild movement. I'm not even really sure where it is today. But I know that the movement was pretty wild. They had a delisting event and then ended up not getting delisted because they were back over the price they needed to be. But the reason I call this out is whether you're investing for the long term or investing for speculation, it's still good to go in and take a look and listen to what those earnings are. Listen to the recordings, look at the investor relations piece. And I just did a video on 10Ks the other day and talked about this as well. Understand what's going on with the companies you invest in, but understand them in real time. If there's an earnings event, you should be checking it out. At a minimum, it's valuable to know what's going on in the company you have your money invested in. As an example, Oracle is reporting this week. A lot of people probably have exposure to Oracle if you're in an index fund or an ETF with exposure to technology, Fortune 500, etc. So just a point there, like at a minimum, you should start to learn how to understand what the reports mean, how to read what the earnings are, and start to get a feel for how it can affect your portfolio. The beauty of it as well is you can historically look back at what happened after other earnings releases, good or bad, and see how the stock moved, how long it may have taken to recover, come back down, etc. The next piece of tonight's episode is, once again, Elon is back on the Twitter sphere talking about cryptocurrencies. I feel like this might as well just be the new full-time job he has on top of, running multiple gigantic companies and frankly kind of changing the world. What Elon came out and said was, I don't know if I want to call it a clarification, but that's probably really the best way for me to think about it is, he said he isn't necessarily over with the idea of Bitcoin or using Bitcoin as a source of payment for Teslas. What he's trying to do is make sure that it's over 50% renewable energy. And then at that point, he's willing to start accepting the coins again as a source of payment for Tesla vehicles. Now, two caveats to this. First of all, as far as I know, only one person has ever used Bitcoin to buy a Tesla. So I'm not sure what a big deal it is from the transactional perspective, but certainly from the treasury perspective on the books, this is a big deal. And it matters if you're an investor in the crypto space. But it also matters if you're looking at inflation and understanding why companies are starting to make the move of investing treasuries or holding space on their treasuries for Bitcoin. Now, the other piece of this, aside from the fact that I don't think it's really for buying Teslas, the other piece is he mentioned he wants it to be over 50%, and then he'll start to do this again. The latest report I saw, and then I started again on Bloomberg, was that currently most miners are somewhere around 35 to 40% renewable already. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility that we could see something happen here relatively fast. And I can't predict what that's going to do for the pricing, but certainly it is good news to hear that Tesla and Elon are thinking about bringing it back in and back on board. And of course, Michael Saylor continues to raise money for bonds and keep buying himself, as well as ETFs up in Canada are doing the same. They're really buying at scale. So speaking of Bitcoin, and it's funny, I never really mean to talk about crypto too much when I'm on here because I really am a macro investor. I look globally at every asset class I can. But it's an important asset class and it's a big one. So the other big piece, aside from Elon and the tweets and the push for renewables, what we're also seeing right now is the Taproot upgrade has happened to Bitcoin. So if you haven't been paying attention, what I want you to think about is Bitcoin is the technology, Taproot is the upgrade, right? They simply upgraded some of the work that's being done on the blockchain. And the goal here is to make it more competitive with Ethereum in terms of both speed and scale. And then, additionally, from a cost perspective as well, transactional costs. So we'll see how positive this is. I think that these are sort of a number of concurrences of good news. But that said, good news doesn't always move the markets. And good news may not be enough to see a price make a big jump. I see all sorts of predictions in and around this space. I don't make any myself whatsoever. Of course, full disclosure, I hold Bitcoin as well as some other cryptos. So just things to be aware of. The other piece that I want to talk about tonight was the G7 summit. Maybe this is good, maybe this is bad. And I don't look at this from a political perspective, really just from a macroeconomic perspective, but I didn't see much come out of it. I don't know if you've been paying attention to what's happening in the G7. It feels very much like more of the same. And I'm not sure that there's anything of note, right? The TLDR is, as usual, there's tensions between some countries, the US and China, US and Russia, etc. As usual, it doesn't seem like we have a clear-cut understanding of where we're trying to go or how we're going to get there. I think they're continuing to push for COVID vaccines, which is great. If that's a big goal and we get more people back to work and economies stood up and running, I know there's lots of mixed emotions on the COVID vaccine in general, and I'm not speaking to that piece of it. I'm just speaking to the fact that potentially we're getting economies back up and running, and maybe some more people back to work. So I think that what often comes from these kinds of meetings should be, in theory, very important or very telling. And then sometimes there's not that much. For me personally, I didn't see that much that I was worried about. So it's a little bit of a TLDR, more of the same. The other piece I'm going to talk to very, very quickly, and then I'm going to call it a night, is we're watching real estate prices in the US continue to absolutely balloon. Rates are still low for mortgages. People are bidding like crazy in my neck of the woods on homes, bidding way over asking prices. And I think this is a combination of lots of dual incomes. I think we're seeing very low rates. I think we're seeing people pushing to the brink of what they can afford. I think that we're seeing inflation help to push asset prices up on a continual basis. I'm hearing that inflation is increasing at rates that are astronomical. I don't know what I don't have a good grasp today of what that real rate looks like. And I think that there could be a 2-hour episode on just what I mean by that. But essentially what I'm saying is, in one respect, we hear that inflation is, 2 or 3%, but in reality, maybe at a total level, that's what it is. But for the things in your own personal life, it could be 2 or 3% a month. I don't know that that is definitely what it is, but my point being, inflation affects different things in different asset classes in different ways. As we continue to print money, it's only inevitable that we're going to have these inflationary periods. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be indifferent. But just be aware of it, understand what asset classes you're in, and if they're affected by inflation and to what degree. So with that, good luck in the week coming up ahead. As always, take care of yourself, be careful, know what's in your portfolio. Make sure you don't have earnings coming. And if you do know what the impact is, make sure you're aware of what's happening from this crypto perspective, the upgrades on the blockchain, and how Bitcoin, might have some good news or it might be just meaningless and see no change. So with that, have a good one. I'm going to call up my friend Debt-Free Dad again for notifying me to the microphone issue on my previous live stream. Hopefully it's been repaired right now. Otherwise, have a good night, have a good week, and talk to you in a little while. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.